What up, dude? Wait, you never checked out the last video? Oh, come on. Go do it right now. The live video on supporting sports. That is where I featured this deck first, and I'm gonna play this deck again because it's so much fun. It's a Surfer Kate deck that relies on Surfer and Paintbrush to get things done, with Dog as the only icebreaker in the deck. So I'm up against Fastrobiotics, which is going to be a very challenging matchup. Thankfully, I slotted the Clot in prior to playing against my opponent, so I should have a slightly easier time. But I'm still not going to underestimate the matchup. He first gets a pet campaign out and ices up R&D appropriately. On his second turn, I think he'll ice up HQ. Otherwise, I would probably try to run it because there are probably agendas in there. Now, seeing that he is playing Biotic Labor into Astroscript right here tells me two things. Firstly, he's playing Astrobiotics. Secondly, it looks like he is anticipating that I'm playing prepaid Kate, so, which seems to be the case because I'm playing Proco into Clone Chip, but that easily isn't the case when I review the Personal Workshop into RNDI. So now I need to play a bit faster because anytime he has an Astroscript in his hand now, he can go up to 4 points. Thankfully, the next card isn't an Astroscript. This tells me that he has no Astro in hand, and there are 2 more left in R&D. I draw into a very early Security Nexus, and this prompts me to go straight for R&D. Against a fast deck, you have to get running much quicker. Against slower decks like the IG deck I played the last time on my live stream, I could afford to take turn after turn after turn to set up, but not in this case. So I immediately Stim Hack into R&D with Security Nexus and the Stim Hack money to back me up in case he reses something that's not nice. So in this case, it's an Enigma. I do not want to lose a click, so I'm going to trace for Nexus. Beat the trace. I'm 1 credit short of liberating the RNDI, so instead I'm just going to access a single card and woohoo! APP. Exactly what I wanted to see. Doge Pilot Program. So now we're even, and there's only 1 more Astro left in the deck, which is very good news. This means that it's much easier to stop his Fastro advance. Here he goes on and does his thing, taking credits because he's pretty poor. This is why I really question the turn 2 Astrobiotic score. I think that's not a very strong play. Although there might be some merit in it if he is anticipating Clot, and I definitely do pack Clot in this game. The question is whether I want to summon the Clot. Let's see what he does here. He ices out R&D, which is a very smart choice because otherwise I would easily run R&D again. Instead, I'm going to collect money from lots of the gambles and make a run on R&D here. Let's see what he reses. Now, he reses the worst possible thing here. It's an Architect. That is very bad because I need to break it because it's a last click run. I know I can win him on the Nexus trace, but the bad thing is after tracing him on the Nexus, I have to jack out because I can't break Enigma. That is such a pity. There are no barriers in his deck. So I'm going to just boost my Link and end the run. If that had been an Enigma or a Quandary instead, I would have just bounced out. I wouldn't need to spend money to boost the Nexus trace. Then that would force him to rest the ice. Next turn I would be able to then surf down his R&D. But that wasn't the case, so that was quite unfortunate for me. In the meantime, he does continue setting up with more draws and more horizontal play. Now, I haven't been checking his remotes at all, let alone deny the res pack campaign, so I need to start checking his remotes to ensure that he doesn't sneak out any builds, because that could be a very tempting option. I see a Sense and Grid, and the last remote is another pack campaign, which I'm not interested in trashing. I don't really care about him having more credits than me. That's totally fine, as long as the limiting factor for most corps when I'm playing a Surfer deck is not that my opponent's amount of money. No matter how much money you have, it's pretty useless because all I need to do is to break 1 ice in order to get through an entire server, thanks to Surfer. So I'm not really concerned about corp credits. I'm just more concerned about setting up my own rig because until I find my entire combo, it's going to be very difficult to establish an R&D lock. I could right now, by installing Paintbrush and summoning the Surfer using SMC, and that's exactly what I want to do right now. I want to get on the board before he assembles his combo pieces and money. I don't want him to see Cyberdeck's Virus Suite, which would hamper my Clot play. So I'm going to get Surfer out here. And after paintbrushing the architect, I'm going to write all the way down to R&D, breaking architect for 1 dog token, and swapping the position of architect with Enigma. So this means that I can get through both of these non-barriers without even needing any breaker but the lady. And I get to see 2 cards because of R&DI. I see an NAPD contract as the second card, which I cannot steal. Very unfortunate there. But, well, here I make a crucial mistake. I leave myself on 3 credits. I probably should have traced for Security Nexus instead of using the dog. Because now he can actually score an agenda, and I cannot clot to save myself because clot costs 2 to install and SMC costs 2 to bring the clot out. So I have no counterplay to that, and so this is exactly what he can do. He can install a new remote, advance it, use the Astro script counter. It's a breaking news. He trashes my Proco. I don't think this is worth it for him, but he feels that it's worth it. Good for him. Losing Proco kind of sucks because I do need the money. The good news is I do have a KD Jones in my hand, so not all is lost, but KD Jones is pretty slow against NEH, so that is something I'm pretty conscious about. Yeah, losing tempo is not very good, but at least I have my entire rig set up, so I'm not actually that concerned about drawing more cards. Right now, I just need enough credits to get past R&D every single time. I would much rather have a multi-threader at this point, which I haven't seen any yet. That is a pity. The multi-threader will make it so much easier to surf my way down R&D. Without multi-threader, it costs me 2 credits to get through R&D every time, and that is an annoyance, in addition to a click from Paintbrush. Okay, so over to me. He continues solidifying his credit lead, so now he has a lot of money, which means that using Security Nexus is not that good of an idea. Again, I'm going to check his remotes because he could be being sneaky here, and I continue taking money. Now I have 4 credits. I can threaten clot if the need arises. This is another reason why I refuse to draw with Diesel, even though in almost every other scenario I'll be Diesel drawing right now. If I draw into the clot in hand, that's actually pretty bad. I don't actually want to draw into the clot. I want the clot to be a surprise, bait him into installing an Astro or a Build so that I can run it and score it. He doesn't think I have clot right now, and he would be wrong. Let's see what he does here. He continues overdrawing with Jackson, presumably to find the last Astro script, and then he double ices the Sensen server. So he's finally going to make a remote server just in case I have clot, and that's good for him. That's the right decision. So here it's time to unload KD, but first I'm going to run archives to force the Jackson out. Turns out he has 2 Jacksons, I believe, and he's going to reshuffle a lot of cards back into R&D. This is pretty crucial. I need him to dump all his builds and NAPDs back into R&D so that on my next R&D run, I'll be able to fetch a lot more stuff. Film Critic's not very useful against Astrobiotics. I can make more than 2 credits per click, so I'd rather steal NAPD directly than to host it on Film Critic. And I finally find my multi-threader, much to my delight. So this is getting installed very soon. And here he attempts to fast advance an agenda. I cannot let that happen, so I'm going to bring my clot out. The question is which program to trash. It's so annoying that Paintbrush takes up 2 memory. So I'm forced to trash the Surfer, which is actually a bad idea in retrospect. And I use SMC to bring out the clot. I shouldn't be trashing Surfer, I should trash the Paintbrush because I have 2 Tinkerings in hand. So it's much easier for me to replicate the effect of Paintbrush with Tinkering than to replicate the effect of Surfer because there's no card that replaces what Surfer does. So he further ices up his remote and hopes that I cannot get in. Can I get in? I have 2 Tinkerings, but there are 3 eyes on the remote. So I'm going to tinker the 2 outermost eyes and hope that the innermost eyes is a wraparound. And then I'll make a run on it, last click. Turns out, I predicted wrongly. The outermost eyes was just a pop-up window. I should have tinkered the 2 innermost eyes. Ooh, this could get really nasty quickly. Alright, so the pop-up is passed. Next eyes is... Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. A quandary. A quandary that's a barrier that I can break with the dog. Final ice. The moment of truth. Is it a wraparound? Is it something that I can break through? It's a quandary. My heart sank. I can trace for Nexus here, but knowing that he is richer than me, I'm not going to get this trace off. So this is very unfortunate. I really wish I had a Proco because that would have gained me a bit more money, probably enough to win this trace. The fact that I cannot win this trace is a big loss in my book. If I'm able to win the trace here, I would steal his 2-pointer. Moreover, if I had tinkered the correct ice, I had a 1 in 3 chance of guessing the correct ice to tinker. I would have swung 2 points in my favor. So denying him 2 points and earning 2 points myself. That's a 4 agenda point swing. That would have made the difference this game. Instead, I'm going to be kicked out of the server because he outtraces me. So I'm going to get tagged and the run ends. It's my last click. I can't shake the tag. But at this point, I don't really care about the tag because, and he doesn't either, because he needs to score that agenda right now. Otherwise, I can paintbrush and get in next turn. So it's up 5-2. I'm in a very weak spot right now. I'm drawing cards frantically, and this is not working at all because I don't have the efficiency of Proco. So this is very unfortunate right here. I continue heavily drawing because I'm actually looking for clone chip or scavenge. Now that he has purged virus counters, he can win next turn by fast advancing. And after 3 consecutive draws, I haven't found a clone chip or scavenge. I believe there are 3 scavengers and 3 clone chips in my deck. I've only seen 1 clone chip. There are 5 recursion cards, all of which are in the bottom 14 cards of my stack. I have nothing to say about that. He finds his agenda and wins the game. It's a pretty painful loss because packing Cloud, I should have a pretty good chance against pure fast advance, but clearly this wasn't the case. I suppose it's really easy to just blame bad draw luck for not finding one of my 5 recursion pieces towards the end, but there were many mistakes I made throughout the game as well that led to my downfall. This deck is definitely money hungry, even though it doesn't seem that way because you're surfing through lots of ice bypassing them all. Security Nexus is such an important trump card. It's basically your last line of defense when paintbrush and tinkering are not enough. Security Nexus is there and needs to be there. You have to win the trace. So you need that to cover the fact that you only have one type of icebreaker. That's why it's very well worth the 3 influence and 8 install costs. That being said, you need the money to pump the trace, and this game I just didn't have enough money between my Proco being blown up and not hitting KT enough, which was a huge problem. Oh, also, and not contesting his pack campaigns, another mistake. So in the end, he had way more money than me and was able to deny my security nexus on the final quandary, which was why I couldn't steal the bill. That's the main part of the game that turned the tables from me being in a good position to him basically dominating the rest of the game. Could this deck work better in Nasir? That is my main question after playing this game. I found that this deck just lacks the money, even though I spent 4 influence on 2 stim hacks and 2 multi-threaders. It just wasn't enough. And there aren't many good econ options within Shaper that don't take influence. Magnum Opus is too much memory. Nasir might be a better econ ID than Kate. Even though I find myself installing lots of clone chips, they can still go on Personal Workshop. And more importantly, Nasir takes advantage of Personal Workshop way better than Kate, which is a non-bow. You also get more potential early burst money if you run into big ice, and small ice you simply bounce off or use your lady to get through. You are also open up more econ options, namely Order of Sol, and you still keep the 1 link, which is always very nice. Recurring credits are very good in Nasir. That is why you usually see Cyber Feeder and Toolbox within Nasir. With multi-threader, it's basically a toolbox for Nasir that works so very well. It counters bankruptcy late game when they res pop-up windows against you. Well, your multi-threader credits will still be there. You can still run through their servers. Also, Lady doesn't require much money to service. So any ice that's 3 strength or lower, you can easily break without worrying about having no credits. Or is Nasir that good? There are still lots of downsides to Nasir, even with the release of some cards that help Nasir greatly. You're still weak to Tracers. Ash is the main culprit, but also Security Nexus. You're still playing this card, and it is very much a downfall as well. When an opponent reses an ice against you, and the opponent has more than 10 credits, they can easily outtrace you for Nexus, slapping a tag on you, and rendering you unable to get through the server. That is a problem. You're also weak to rush decks. Um, any decks that spam binary ice like this fast advance astrobiotics, lots of quandaries that just bankrupt you, you're not going to earn much money off of it, and you're not going to fuel your security nexus if you're relying on single credits to get the security nexus out. Finally, it's also incredibly weak at trashing assets or upgrades. This could be a problem if you're trying to outmoney them to use security nexus, or if you're trying to deal with very nasty upgrades such as Ash and some of the stuff that protect agendas. So yeah, Nasir is really a double-edged sword. It has so much potential, yet it's weak to those decks that really hurt you the most. I don't know if it's a better choice than Kate. I guess it needs to be tested. What do you think? Do you think Nasir is a better choice than Kate for this archetype? Surfer Dog? And what do you think of Surfer Dog as an archetype itself? I think it's pretty cool. I think I'll still be playing this deck more often because it's so much fun. Thanks for watching. Happy net running. Goodbye.